What's going on, everyone? Kelly Cavallero here, one half of 7 Era Media, and welcome to today's edition of Honky Tonk Highway, episode 31. Thank you guys for joining in so far on this crazy ride I've been doing. If you haven't yet, please like, follow, share, subscribe, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. That way you do not miss anything that we post or share or go live with. So today's interview is going to be a little different, okay? All three of today's guests have already been on the show, so you've got their past history and to look into their lives. Today we're going to do an entire show on one topic and one topic only: the amount of line dances in the world today and how it affects everybody that goes to the events, the DJs, the choreographers, and instructors. I brought on three people that I feel have a very good outtake on this topic. And just to let everyone know, this is our opinion and the opinion of just us. We're not saying that this is the opinion of everybody, but this is the opinion of the people on today's show. I brought on two guys who are instructors and choreographers that are very well known and probably the biggest DJ in the United States line dance scene today. So, ladies and gentlemen, JP Potter, Darren Bailey, and Fred Whitehouse. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So thank you for deciding to come on with me and doing this little topic show. I know we've talked about doing something like this for quite some time now. So let's start off right off the bat. How do y'all feel is with the amount of line dances being written today?
Who would you like to go first?
Yeah.
Either one, whoever wants to start it off. Darren, you started off because they're both looking at you like, please, Darren, start talking.
I'm happy to chime in if you want to. Okay. I think a lot of us have a very similar opinion that not all of us, of course, but a lot of us kind of feel that there are too many dances being released in recent years, I would say. I'd say there's been such a massive increase in like the last 5 years at least. But for me, the most, not annoying thing, but the hardest thing to wrap my mind around is I feel so sorry for the instructors, the everyday class instructors who have to try and cipher through all these dances to try and find which dance is going to be the one that's going to take off from maybe 15 or 16 dances choreographed to a same song sometimes. Sometimes the instructors have to sit and wait to see which one is going to be the most popular. And by the time they've decided, oh, this is the most popular one, like the line dance world has moved on to something else again. So it's just like, it happens so quickly these days. So I feel sorry for the general like line dance teacher instructor who has a class, who has to cipher through all these dances to try and find which dances are going to suit their class, but which dances are also going to be danced on the circuit.
So true, so true. Fred, your thoughts?
I gotta second exactly what Darren just said. I'm gonna sound like a shadow or a parrot, just what he's just after saying about the dances being released. It's definitely very difficult to balance the right amount of dances being released by every choreographer, because again, there's a lot of choreographers on the circuit. So by the guys and girls who choreograph, if they do 5, 6 dances a year, it's still probably way too many dances to be done through the 12-month period when you're having your own instructors class. I know, again, personally, trying to choose what's going to be popular is difficult for me to teach when I'm back home, and then kind of the students are kind of going, oh yeah, but they don't dance that anywhere we go, and then I'm kind of like, well, I was a shot in the dark and it didn't take off, and then you're trying to play lucky. And sometimes you get it right, sometimes you don't. And then sometimes you follow the DJ feed, and like JP will be able to chime in and say what he plays regular, but we're talking about them kind of new releases. What do you think is going to take off? And then like Darren just said, it is really a waiting game. And do you wait too long?
Right.
And then too long is gone. And you're like, what? It's very difficult right now. And I think all of the instructors are feeling the exact same pinch. And if I'm honest, I'm going to pass it to the choreographers too. I think the choreographers feel it on a different level because so many in choreographers are chosen to instruct at events as well. And it's on a weekly basis, every weekend, a different event, a different place in the world, or probably a lot of it's in the same, like, European country sometimes, back to back, back to back. And if you're in such a close shape, you might have the same kind of following who's going to follow you from weekend to weekend, and then they're going to kind of moan at you, can I have a new one? Can I have a new one? And the same way the event directors. So this is probably going to open up a whole can of worms. You're kind of going to ask for a new piece of choreography because they've learned what you've done 2 weeks ago because it's went on the internet. So it's just one of them. It's a big bad circle, and at the moment it's kind of a very dark circle, and we don't know how to stop it, how to control it, and how to put it in check. But JP can probably tell us on the DJ side of things on what he plays, you know.
Yeah, and even there, it's difficult because I can sit in the DJ booth at one event, and in my head, I mentally make note of the ones that I think are going to be sticking around for, 6 months down the road. Well, a lot of times those don't even end up sticking around because we already have a new wave coming in.
Right.
At the next event, a brand new wave of new dances. So now I'm starting all over going, okay, well, these might stick around. And it's, for me, with so many dances that come out on a regular basis every month, it's hard. People are learning so many different dances that it's hard to have anything that fills the floor consistently. You have your 5 or 6 dances that you can play that'll get 80% of people up, but the rest of the time, because not everybody's learning the same dances. Right. Where in the past, when I first started this as a social dancer and a little bit as a choreographer, it was common that the choreographers would take their dances and tour them for an entire year. And so that dance had its chance to get all over the country, all over the world, let everybody learn it, and then it stuck around. And people actually owned the dances then that they learned. They could variate, they could have fun with it, they could play, where now there's so many times I'll get a request for something that's even, 2 weeks old, and everybody's, oh, we love this dance, but they have to follow somebody to do it because they don't actually know the dance. And so now you're at a point where are you doing it to have the fun, or are you doing it just because you want to be learning all the newest stuff? That's how I see it from the booth.
Right. And like from a competitor standpoint, like me, I'm still competing in the USLGC and trying to get my dances out there. We were supposed to have the finals and coming up in 2 weeks? And now I sit back and wonder, do I hold the dances I had ready for the finals and hold them off till December with the risk of someone writing on top of it? Or do I go ahead and release them and try to come out with new stuff? That's because then if we don't release dances as unknown people, there's a 98% chance that someone with a big name is going to jump on that song if they find it. And then there's no sense of us writing to the song because then it's just going to be, boom, not even get seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine line to try to walk between do you release it, do you not? But I would hope most people are pretty good about checking, Copper Knob, checking the internet and going, oh, this dance just got released. Let me try to give it some time. I said I would hope people are pretty good.
I love that all three of us started laughing at the same moment there because
but that does bring up another issue that you mentioned now of people choreographing over other people.
Right. And trust me, that's going to be one of the topics because you were sitting at the booth and you were DJing the event that Darren was judging in Atlanta, where the first 3 songs in the intermediate advanced division that were competed were all dances that had well-known dances to it.
Right.
Like I was the 4th entry in that, and that was the first time we heard a new song that actually wasn't taught by a different choreographer that weekend. So it's like, how do we... And so I did some research, and I had Big Jim help me with this, so my statistician, Big Jim. So I want to get your thoughts on this. I went back through Copper Knob, and I looked at the amount of dances released for the last 5 months. January, February, March, April, and so far up until this morning in May that George has on the website. Now, mind you, the last dance event that actually happened was, if I'm not mistaken, Heart of Texas, correct?
That was the last one I was able to work, yes.
I believe that was the last dance event because Boston was supposed to be 2 weeks later and that canceled. So, in January, there were 610 dances released. In February, there was 619. Now we get into March, where only half of March was done at dance events. There were 611. The month of April, there was not a single in-person dance event. There were 746 brand new dances released. Okay? 746 without a single dance event in person.
Yeah.
And then so far in the month of May, there's been 386 through 21 days.
Yeah, and how are people supposed to cipher through those 600 every month to find out which is the dance that people will be choosing around the world to dance? It's impossible.
And that's not counting any step sheets that were added in those months for dances from the past that people never released. Those were just ones with dates on it for that month. And I didn't even check any other website. I didn't check Line Dancer. I didn't check any other website. That's just Copperdop.
Well, and here's what's hard about that too, is when we come back from all this and we have our first in-person event, unless I'm getting information from, I'm going to call them out here, the retro group, the streamline group, unless they're sending me information on what they're having taught, I have no idea.
Right.
There is no way. I mean, I could follow every single class, but that's a lot for me to do too.
Oh, I agree with you.
So
I 100% agree with you.
Where are we going to pick back up? And now we have probably about 2,000, 3,000 dances based off the last couple of months that you just mentioned.
Wendy Payne just chimed in and said she just counted up. It's 2,972 year to date. That is 28 dances shy of 3,000 dances done. And we're not even 6 months into the year.
Yeah.
That's not counting dances that haven't even been released. That's not even counting step sheets that haven't been released yet. Because I'm pretty sure there's been new dances that have been taught on the digital weekends and digital time where the step sheets aren't even out yet. So.
Yep.
Well, and I'll tell you, my biggest fear is that coming back out of this, when we have our first event and we start getting back into it, anything that was choreographed during this time frame when we're locked down and we can't be out dancing, we can't be socializing, is gonna fall through the cracks. There might be one or two that happen to get picked up and take off, but I'm afraid that a lot of this is gonna fall through the cracks because it's too hard to have that unity and dance. And when we go to an event, a lot of it is, you get to see it on the floor, social at night. There's a lot of dances that I've looked at that I watch the demos and I go, I'm not really a fan of that one. But then I watch it socially that night and I go, okay, now I see the appeal.
Right.
And that's a big selling point for a lot of dances that they're not going to get that exposure right now.
Question for you, JP, because I'm going to try to get to some of these questions because there's been a lot of good ones that come in. Do what?
I said, I feel like I'm talking a lot. Why don't you ask them a question?
Well, this can actually get brought up by all four of us. Alice Carruthers asked, for the DJ of the group, sorry, but why do the same dances get played all 3 nights at every dance event? There are so many great dances that I just don't understand why the same ones are played for all 3 nights. And I can answer. It's a great question, but the easiest answer is if the floor's not full, the event director is not going to be happy.
Well, and this comes back to something I said earlier, which is with so many dances out there, you have your handful, you have your bucket that you can pull from of the ones that actually do get the majority of the people in the room up. And that's, ultimately that's our goal. We do want to have a full floor because that creates energy and creates more of a party. If you start playing too many dances that have, 50% or less of the room on the floor, now it's starting to feel more like just a Friday night social or instead of an event. And that comes back to, again, in my opinion, too many dances because, yeah, there's a lot of great dances out there, but there's so many to choose from that this, let's say instructor A is picking this dance. Well, instructor B is going to pick something different because their class likes the music better.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I have two different groups that are, there, but guess what? Instructor C didn't teach either of those two dances.
Right.
So it's a tricky line to walk. And so, yeah, as a DJ, I'll admit there's times where I do play it safe and go with what I know will get people on the floor.
Oh, absolutely.
Thursday night is the night that I'll try to experiment a little bit more with the newer dances or stuff that I'm not sure how it's going to do. Because then I know by Saturday, okay, yeah, this one did well. It's going to keep the room rocking now tonight.
Right.
So I hope that answers your question.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, that's exactly how I think it is. And a lot of people are saying in the chat, we should bring back more retro, so more of those older dances get played. But to be fair, and this is I guess I'm going to ask, what do y'all consider retro? What should be the definition of retro or throwback or stuff like that? Because to me, some of these dances aren't. You have so many better dances. Like, I'm going to go with an astonishing fact here. We were 4 weeks in, almost 5 weeks into both streamline and social distancing for retro teachers and stuff like that before a Guyton Monday dance was taught. Okay? You're talking about a guy who put out a lot of great dances, and no one thought to go that far back. Any particular reason why that was the thing? And I can go with a lot of other choreographers too that probably got missed, and older dances that got missed. But you think of dances that are being done, I can name 50 dances if I had access to Guyton's old website that 80% of event attendees don't even know that existed. Because they haven't seen him in 5 years.
Yeah, that one's tricky as well. Just on behalf of Guyton, and he does choreograph, and he will tell you like a higher level dance
right.
Majority of the time. So then you're hitting a clientele that's probably like JP's then problem is he opens up the night with 16 advanced dances. The ballroom's probably going to be pretty upset. Because he's just pinpointing just all of one level. But I do get your point. Why was maybe some of Guyton's dances not through in the mix, maybe to go back because he has retired. But I probably do say that Guyton's stuff is definitely difficult. He got easier stuff 100%. But some of his stuff is very, very difficult. And this probably leads to the fact where Guyton will be able to teach, was able to teach for a little bit of a longer time because it was like a phrase day, B, C, D. And then people would take his class from him because maybe some of the instructors weren't confident enough to probably take that on and say, you know what, my students are probably not going to like all of that thinking process. They're coming out for a night. They just want to have something nice and easy. Now, this is just straight as in what some of the instructors will probably think of. It mightn't sit with a lot of people, but it's just how life is. Some people just do it as a social pastime. Some people do it to get better and try the craziest, newest, ridiculous move that's probably just come out. So it's kind of a mixed bag. I know it's difficult to pinpoint though.
Yeah, I also think that with Guyton's dances and just advanced dances in general, now that we're teaching through this new format, the harder dances are much harder to teach in this new format as well, where it's easier to get an easy dance over the internet rather than trying to teach an ABC dance where you have music issues now and things like that. Right. So you're going to do the music at the end of the lesson and things like that. So I think that kind of plays into it, that the harder dances, which Guyton is known for choreographing as well, are much harder to teach in this format at the moment.
Okay, so my question is that stopped you two from teaching any of your advanced stuff or from new dances being released and intermediate advanced dances still being taught?
Personally, I have only tried to stick to anything intermediate and under.
Okay.
I've got maybe one advanced dance, which is a dance that was requested that I teach. So that's the only reason why I kind of went ahead and did that, which was Unforgettable.
Right.
But most of the time, I'm aiming for intermediate or lower at this moment in time.
I've definitely done a few advanced dances recently through the teachers. I've actually taught me and Darren's Follow Me. Jessica taught Witness,
Yep.
Which was a huge dance to get in an hour. But I know I've taught Off the Chain. I've taught a new one, which was me and Darren's on the digital dance, which is an advanced one. But I know that the teaching slot, I'm able to put it in a 50-minute teach comfortably in this format. But if I thought it was ever going to be way too much for the hour slot that we probably would be I would never attempt it, because I don't want them going away scratching the head going, that was the worst teaching in the world. I didn't get any of that to music. I want to make sure they're leaving the workshop with a good dance, feeling comfortable, and they know that they can go to class and do it.
I mean, I usually scratch my head after every one of your workshops anyway. But...
That's an accent.
See, and coming from a digital guy who does all the taping, I would think it would be the reverse, that y'all would try to go with the harder teaches because they're recorded. So people can go back and watch you guys over and over and over again on their own free time and to their own accord. So I figured this would be actually almost a better time sometimes to teach the harder stuff, because you can teach at your pace for that hour, and then everyone else can turn around and just go back and rewind it and watch you over and over and over again and just hammer down on the parts they weren't getting.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying as well. But like Fred just said, you still want people to walk away from your workshop going, I had a good time in that workshop, not walking away from the workshop going, crumbs, I have to watch that back. I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. So I understand Fred's point of view there as well.
And actually, Kelly, do you mind if I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So my thought from sitting in the DJ booth and watching social dance and workshops, and as choreographers, I want you guys to tell me if you agree. To me, it seems like our gap between improver and intermediate keeps getting bigger. To where, it used to be we just had, beginner, intermediate, advanced, way back in the day. And then that gap between beginner and intermediate started growing, so improver came in to fill that spot. And now, to me, it looks like we're getting that gap again between improver and intermediate. So to me, it seems like it's creating a segregation between our lower levels and our upper levels, to where sometimes I hear people say they don't even want to make the jump from improver to intermediate anymore. They want to stay where they're comfortable.
Or an easy advanced.
Is that something you guys, as choreographers, have taken into consideration when you're writing a dance, like trying to figure out, this is a good one to lead into the next level up? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, well, if I jump on that, Darren, you can follow. Just on that level, a lot of choreographers choreograph all different levels. And I think it's definitely the hardest thing to do in the job that we do, is hit the right choreography on each level, because the beginners need a good beginner dance and a good song that they're going to fall in love with. So they want to step into that improver level. Improver level dancers also want a good track or an easy flowing dance, which is going to make them feel confident, make them look good, to give them that confidence to step forward into intermediate. So all of the levels are difficult to make 100% right. But the thing that we see is as well that intermediates now getting split into a category of low intermediate and a high intermediate and a solid intermediate, and then it's
that as well, yes,
easy advanced and a super hard advanced, and then it's a high beginner and it's a low beginner, or it's an absolute beginner. And now we have this category which is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we have like 7, 8 steps through, where it used to be like 4. But choreography is definitely something, personally, I do like to try to hit an improver dance and just say, right, that's my improver dance. I feel like it's comfortable for the improvers, or that's my beginner dance. But in my head, it's a good beginner dance. But then some other instructors teach it to their class and they'll go, that's too tricky for my beginners. The tempo's too quick, or there's a syncopation in there. There's throwing them off. So sometimes you just don't get it perfect. But I definitely try to hit what that choreography level would be if I can. I don't do it perfectly, and all the choreographers will say the same thing. Darren's good at hitting all levels, and that's why I'm just lead it over to Daz, because he does do great beginner and improver stuff, and he sees the jump between improver into intermediate level a lot on the circuit that he travels. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, thanks for that build-up, man.
Yeah, all right.
I see, and I think the issue comes from when you think of intermediate and when you think of improver. I think choreographers think of intermediate already as, okay, now I can challenge the dancers and I can push them and see what I can get out of them. Whereas I think when you think improver, you think, oh, I have to make this easy enough for people to get. So I think that's where the kind of the bridge starts to come, where people think intermediate, I can challenge people. Improver, I have to make it easy. So we need to try to kind of find a little bridge in between, which is definitely the hardest place to hit choreography wise, I feel, at the moment, because as I said, your brain kind of goes to either I can challenge people or I can make this easy for people to learn. Kind of having that bridge in between is an interesting place as well, and it's something that I think now that this has been kind of we've been made aware of, this is something that hopefully we can kind of work on as well and try and maybe create improver dances with a challenging step, rather than the whole thing being a challenging dance or the whole thing being an easy dance. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it's definitely something that's tricky, which, like I said, for me, it's what I've noticed from the booth, where it seems like we have that gap that's growing again.
Yeah.
And if we want everybody to have fun in the main ballroom, we have to close it. We have to be able to have everybody together.
Mm-hmm. And Mike, someone just commented, Kayla Cosgrove said there's a huge difference here between levels in the USA and the UK. And I'm going to agree with her, because what we would deem over here probably a beginner or an improver dance is not what is deemed a beginner or approved dance over there. Or same thing with intermediate. Stuff that's intermediate over there would be probably more advanced. Just judging by someone who's entered choreography competitions in both at World Dance Masters and over here, the set of rules we have to follow when choreographing dances are nowhere near the same. What we're allowed to put in an improver dance for that category over at World Dance Masters, definitely not. We can't even put those steps in a beginner, newcomer, novice, or beginner improver, as everyone calls it, here. Same thing like when I go, depending on what choreography competition we got to go to. So as choreographers, someone trying to write a dance that's going the competition route to try to get spots to teach at, how are we supposed to, in the sense, make everybody happy where our dance is going to be universal? Because what you might deem intermediate, Darren, probably is not what, well, with Fred it's probably closer, but what JP might deem it, or what Scott or Simon or Rachel or any of those. Just look at some of the dances that have won awards. What they probably wouldn't have won awards if they were in a different category.
Yeah, I think the difficult thing is because although we class dances at certain levels, depending on where you go as well, you are correct, is I've been to events where I can teach an intermediate dance that I think is an intermediate dance. But
right.
At that event, they would class it as an advanced dance.
Right.
And the other way around as well. I've been to events where I would teach where I would teach the same dance, but those people would think it's an easy intermediate dance rather than an advanced.
Right.
So although we say there's a universal level, it kind of isn't, which is the difficult thing about when you kind of create your dances.
So someone just brought up a point, and Fred, you can answer this because you were there. Dustin Betts' Dance Pieces. It was a competition dance a couple years ago, 2017, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't it the novice division that it was a competition dance for?
Yeah, World Dance Masters novice category.
Right. That dance was competed in the intermediate advanced choreography division here in the States when it won at Marathon. So there's a perfect case right there.
I can leave with that just a little bit, and probably Darren be able to say the same thing. And actually, you all can, because you've been in the competition scene, you've seen it, you've DJ'd it, you've been in the competition.
Mm-hmm.
The competition dancers in like a novice level, their technical ability is quite good. You know, they're starting to learn a whole lot of steps and to use their body in a whole lot of different ways than maybe on a social scene. So when it goes to competition, it's about the technical aspects and how many
Right.
basics and things are probably going to be in there. And Dustin's dance fell into the category that Masters thought that's going to be a challenge enough for the novice dancers to have a full year, like they have a full 12 months to work on 3 dances. One of them was the nightclub, which was Dustin's. So by the end of the year, they can't just turn up and go, oh my God, I'm going to be amazing at this dance on the first day. You know, they've got a 12-month period of perfecting this dance by the time Worlds comes around. So was it wrong to put it in intermediate advanced level on a social market? I'm not going to say it was wrong, but novice competitors are probably a little bit more with working with that dance for 12 months.
Okay. Hold on. Let's go with novice. Let's go with novice or improver level social dancers in the UK. Would that fit into what an improver, more novice level social dancing is over there in the UK?
Again, similar to what Darren said, it just probably depends on the area, the instructor, what they've been teaching in their class to their improvers. On a general rule, I wouldn't say it's an improver dance on the social scene. Pieces. No.
Okay.
But that's me.
Well, that's why this show's existing right now. We're curious at all the questions that get answered.
I think. Can I just chime in on that?
Absolutely.
I think that Fred answered it perfectly by saying that I think it comes down to a competition dancer is technically more sound than your average social dancer. Your average social dancer is not based in technique. They just want to dance the dance to enjoy themselves. Whereas a competition dancer has gone through training, so they understand different concepts of how to use the body correctly with the foot positions and things. So I think that comes down to a competition dancer can like handle harder dances at a certain level than a social dancer probably.
Agreed. Anything you want to add, JP?
No, they said it perfectly.
Awesome.
They're the professionals on that level.
So one of the other questions that I know have been asked, and when it comes to y'all picking what you choreograph, do y'all pay attention to what's already out there? Do y'all check Copper Knob and the other websites to see if there's already been dances released to it? I guess the topic of everyone releasing dances to the same song. Because I know in the Michael Barr interview where both of you asked great questions to Michael and Michael answered them amazingly. So a huge shout out to Michael Barr. That's what Michael Barr's interview actually is what gave me the idea for this show. And the questions that y'all were asking him and the way he answered it, it was perfect. Back in the day, we had more floor splits. There was not as many dances written. Everyone would repeat dances, and then everybody would, like you said earlier, would teach their dance for about a year. Mm-hmm. So the question I have is, I guess, should people be a little bit more cautious with releasing dances on top of everybody else? Or someone said earlier, choreographers should just be able to write and release what they want when they want it, and that's that.
Yeah, I think that's such a touchy subject as well.
Agreed.
Because I do believe that most people try to be respectful. I do believe that most people will try to look on Copper Knob, will try to look to see if anyone's posted anything on Facebook that I'm choreographing this dance. And I think most choreographers will be respectful to that. It doesn't always happen, but I think there's a general rule that we try our best to try and stay away from other things that people have choreographed. And just because sometimes it's happened doesn't mean we've done it out of spite. Maybe we've missed that post that someone put, I'm working on this dance, or it wasn't on Copper Knob when we choreographed our own one. So sometimes that can happen as well.
No, he said it just right. it's kind of an unwritten rule that choreographers probably just lay back if they've seen something posted or there is a dance on there, and to be fair, 9 times out of 10, if there was an advanced dance being written and there was a beginner dance to the track, out of courtesy, now this is just probably me, I'm sure some of the other guys would do the same thing, I would message and say, look, I've really hit a spot with this song and I really would love to do an advanced dance. I know you've got a beginner dance to it. Do you mind if I write an advanced dance? It's going to be phrased, it's going to be ABC, it's not going to be anything on the same level. But then it'll probably jump to the fact of, if there was an intermediate dance to it, why would I do an advanced one? Just let the advanced dancers do the intermediate dance and kind of just don't put another dance to the song, because then JP is probably stressed out going, which dance do I play? Whose name do I call? Where do I floor split? Now we've got 3 advanced or intermediate. Now it happens to songs, and you see this. Number 1 song comes out. It's the latest Ed Sheeran track, and everybody wants to go, oh man, let's do this before it's all done. Pow, pow, pow. 10 dances.
If I'm not mistaken, Christopher Gonzalez, right when the new Ed Sheeran CD was released I think of a year and a half ago, he put out a poll to see how many dances were going to get released within the first 2 weeks of the album. And he did a whole spreadsheet, and it was astronomical. Within 4 days, I think there was 40-something dances on it. And it was like 11 to one track, 8 to the other. I'm just like, yeah, it's just like you said, it's the whatever the popular is. But I did a little magic on that, looking into that number as well. Currently, according to Google, there is over 97 million songs out there. I find it astronomical that 10 people choose
every single one of those.
Well, then for most people, they use the same too. They use Apple Music and Spotify. Each one of those websites have 50 plus million songs on them right now. How is it possible? And y'all can tell me thing, because I look through music, and I know me and you've talked about this, Darren, especially in this time of quarantine. All we do is listen to music all day. We're trying to find new tracks. With all those songs there, how is it possible that 10 different instructors release dances to it within 2 days? To the same song.
Well,
it's you can't tell me that, and it's usually that many of the same styles or stuff like that, because most people have a general style. Most choreographers, they stick to a general style of music or something like that. And then all of a sudden you see them pop off and release the dance to Ed Sheeran, and they've never written to a pop song in their life. But yet, because it's the popular song, you see 10 instructors release to it on the same day.
Musically, not every song is good.
I 100% agree with you on that one. We've played a lot of bad ones.
On iTunes, how many of them are bad songs that you just don't like, that you just don't want to dance to? I mean, everybody can remember back when we used to actually buy CDs.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
You would wait for that new Ed Sheeran album to come out, and you'd run to the store and you'd pick it up and you'd go home and you'd put it in and you'd listen to it because you heard one song released on the radio and it was great, and everything else is crap. How many times have we've all bought those albums for that one song and then listened to the rest thinking we're going to find something else, and it's all just crap. It happens.
That's true. But as you were just saying, I'm gonna stick up for Darren just for a minute. I usually don't. I don't do that. But I as going along in what I do, kicking my career, it's the same thing. I took advice from Darren. Just don't pick the first track that you see come in the pop charts or the new country charts, or go digging, find something that people are not going to really go and look for. If you can hunt a little bit deeper, you're going to find a hidden gem, and then it'll inspire you to choreograph a little bit different instead of trying to get one out what's hot now, which won't stick around for too long. And that's what's probably turning into the dance world and the music world, is the generation is you can get it on your hand right now, on your phone, everything's on your smartphone. Oh, bam, new song coming out 2 weeks. It doesn't really do anything. It'll last for about 6 weeks along with the dance, and then it's gone. If you find something which is a little different, a little quirky, it's got a huge chorus or a little back riff that people are probably not listening to, then them things probably stick around longer than the hot right now kind of moments. But that's advice Darren gave me, is go hunting for a bit of music instead of just find the first thing that pops at you. And he does that with a lot of his stuff, if you listen to any of his music.
Well, and I want to say too, like, to me, it seems that most of the choreographers that travel the circuit are pretty good about trying to find those hidden tracks. You know, they don't necessarily always jump for the brand new pop song. Like that, a lot of the choreographers on the circuit are good about that. But everybody out there who's listening that's up and coming, take that advice. Like, look for music. Don't, just because it's hot on the radio doesn't mean you have to write to it. I wanted to say that.
No, I 100% agree with that. I usually don't write anything off of that's ever heard on the radio, because I know better. Because by the time I get to compete it and release it, there's been a dance release to it. And a lot of people have commented it's because we feel the music and we're passionate about the music and we want to share a passion and it's what we want to do. I don't think I think a lot of people miss the question I asked. So that's not, I understand that it's going to happen. There are going to be times where we end up and everybody releases something in the next couple days. I'm meaning more of when there's been 2 or 3 dances done to it, been taught at events. 6 months down the road, you see another choreographer show up at a dance event, releasing a brand new dance to the same track that people have already been dancing for 6 months. That's more what I'm getting at. Is when you go to an event and you've been teaching your dance, or someone's been teaching your dance, and now it's got to compete with this other choreographer teaching on top of each other. Like, I'll use an example, JP, and you can remember this one a couple years ago at Marathon. On Thursday, when Linda McCormick and Megan Wheeler both got scheduled on the very first day of the event and got scheduled the same song to the same dance an hour apart.
Right.
Literally I think it was back to back in 2 different ballrooms. And then brand new dances, they both are releasing them that day. And for the DJs that night, they didn't even realize, because they only see one song in the music playlist from the list. They don't know there's 2 dances to that. So come open dancing time, half the people didn't even realize that there was a second dance taught to that.
And it does happen. It can happen on a fluke where 2 people hear a song and they release it at the same time and they don't know, like, you know. And this happens a lot too, where actually I'm going to pick on Fred for a minute.
Please do. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. What? Can't hear you.
When I'm getting music ready for an event, you know, I try to make it easy on the choreographers, and I'll go through and I'll pull up the step sheets. I pull all the step sheets. I pull, you know, I go get the music. I get the music put together from iTunes, download it all. But there's the occasions where, you know, Fred's got a new dance, and guess what? It's not on Copper Knob yet. So I don't even know what the music is. So then I have to reach out and contact him. You know, and that's fine. He's usually pretty good about getting back to me in a timely manner, unlike somebody else on this video chat.
Always pick on me.
But so Fred's got this new dance out, but nobody knows what the music is because the step sheet's not out there. So somebody in Australia could actually come across that piece of music and choreograph to it and release it, having no idea Fred has a dance to it. It does happen.
Oh, I 100% agree. It does happen.
Yeah, that that's going to open up another question, which you probably have already prepped. So I'm not just backing this up by myself. I'm just saying in general. Like, sometimes this is the influx, and this turns out to be a reason why some choreographers won't release a step sheet, is because I'll speak on myself. I have, like, say 6 weekends in a row, and they're very close together. And I got a brand new dance I've just done. I've taught it on the Saturday, Sunday. And the guys are like, "Oh, you're putting it on Copper Knob." But next week, the event director asked me for a brand new dance. And I've kind of went, I can't go and choreograph another one.
Right.
So, you know what? I'm going to be a little bit ignorant. I'm not going to pop it on the internet straight away because these guys next week on whatever part of the world I'm going to want a brand new dance. So I'll hold the sheet just for another little bit. Damn, the weekend straight after that, I was asked and demanded another dance. And I was like, you know, there's 3 weekends in a row. Do I do 3 brand new dances or do I hold a step sheet just for about 2 weeks and then go, there's 3 events. I've got the new dance. I'll hold a step sheet a little bit, but it doesn't help JP unless he reaches out. But if you know, it's just a gamble on behalf of myself that nobody's going to do my song because I've done what Darren gave me advice. I've hunted a song out, which is probably off the beaten track, I'm hoping. And then I take a chance not release the step sheet because I have three event directors asking me for a brand new dance, and I'm trying to please everybody, but I'm not actually pleasing everybody because the people want the step sheet online. But unfortunately, the event directors are paying us, and this is what it turns out to be. It's a bad, big wolf circle. I'm like, oh.
Well, and you touched on something that I'd like to come back on, which is the, you know, every event asking for a new dance to be choreographed. And I'll say it, I'm probably going to get some flack for it. I don't think that's fair. Because what happens, and I see this from the DJ booth all the time, you guys are both good at what you do. But when you're asked to consistently put out new dances every week, there's the whole thing of quantity versus quality.
Yep.
The quality of the dances goes down because you can't spend the time that you need to spend on it.
Agreed.
And I would rather, I think that's part of the problem, and as to why some stuff doesn't really stick around anymore either, is because you're pushed to get these new dances out. So that pushes out something else that people just learned 3 weeks ago. And on top of that, it's not like it was way back when choreographers would tour a dance for an entire year and everybody would know that dance. And even if I was one of these people, even if I had learned it from my local instructor and I showed up to an event where Fred or Darren's at and I wanted to learn it, I would still go to the class, not to learn it, but to learn the little tips and tricks and technique from the choreographer themselves. And that really helped dances gain longevity, I think. So I really don't think it's fair that event directors are pushing for new choreography every time.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, JP. And I just want to say as well, it's not all event directors that do it. Some directors give you free rein because they know that this is what we do. We know that this is our job. So we know when we can choreograph a new dance. We know when we can teach this one for a while. So not all event directors are the same, but some do push. Some do push for you to create a new dance. Oh, I want you to release a new dance at my event. But so does the event director after that as well. And so does the event director after that one as well. And sometimes you're caught in this circle where, I think Fred touched on it as well, that you want to please everybody. And sometimes it's so difficult to turn around and just say no, because that event director will just get someone else next time.
Right.
Okay, so do you think technology has played a big part in this because there's more readily accessible to all your dances?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like with the availability of all your dances on YouTube and Copper Knob and things like that, yeah, they get learned so quickly now that you teach a dance 1 week and it's up on YouTube. And even if there's no step sheet for it, like Fred was saying, when you hold your step sheet back, but sometimes the video still makes it onto YouTube and people learn it from the video as well. And then you're forced to you go to that event the weekend after, and some people have already done your dance, and you haven't released it. But that's the technology side of it.
So
yeah, I think technology has definitely made it more difficult because of all the aspects you just mentioned. It's definitely harder.
All right, so I'll ask a question on this one, and this could be an interesting one. A lot of it's due to the fact that events release the schedule a couple weeks before the event, and everyone has time to learn pretty much everything that's taught. Back in the day, we didn't have that worry. We couldn't release a schedule. Do you think events should continue to release schedules and just be surprised of what y'all are going to teach? The instructors will know, the DJ will know. Obviously, you can send it to the DJ. Like you can still events can still ask for you to send your dances in by a certain date. That way they can print the books and stuff. But maybe they just don't release it to the public. Because in all honesty, if the reason we're going to events is to learn from the instructors on the list and the choreographers on the list, it really shouldn't matter what they're teaching. It shouldn't matter what if you choose to teach a dance from 5-6 years ago, Fred. If they're truly there to learn from you, they're going to want to learn from you regardless of what dance you taught. And then when they get to demos, they're surprised.
Can I chime in there?
Absolutely.
I think there's two things that go with that. Number one is the events that you don't have to send your step sheets into early are usually smaller one-day events where there may be 2, 3, maybe just you as an instructor. So you've got no chance of clashing with anyone else's dance as well. On the bigger events, if you don't send in your dances early, you're going to have sometimes that issue where 3, 4 people turn up teaching to the same piece of music.
Well,
as well.
we still have that though. Because look at Fort Wayne. JP was just there. What a Man Gotta Do. Both Scott and Amy's and Julie Wetzel's got taught on the same weekend. So, and then there's going to be a beginner dance taught to that. So that's still happening with the schedules getting released weeks ahead of time.
That's nothing that as a choreographer or instructor we can control. That is down to whoever makes that schedule. Putting those 2 dances up against each other, or not being aware that 2 dances are in at the same time to the same piece of music.
But also on that, Darren, then, if you get to an event and you see that someone chose, you then would have an opportunity to change the dance maybe without anybody knowing or getting upset that you changed your teach. Now, if you want to change the dance because someone else is teaching the exact same track, you have to jump through hoops because the schedule's already been printed, everything's been crossed out.
Yeah, because I do see both points of view. Because personally, I enjoy turning up to an event and having options. Because then I can look at the people who are at the event, I can look at the dance floor, I can look at the levels, and I can change what I need to teach. So I enjoy doing it that way. But as I said, at the bigger events, sometimes they like to have things there in advance so you don't get those clashes. So I do see like both points of view there.
So my question to you is, what could be a solution to fix the problem? Because even with doing the schedule, we still have that clash. We still have that. We still go to an event and like what I just talked about JP, and I'm pretty sure it's happened more the way we had it at Marathon. It's happened. You might, if someone's, perfect example, if you turn around and wrote a dance and had it to the same track as say Fred, and y'all didn't know about it. If you got up and he went and demoed his dance, and y'all talked about it when you got to the event, you would have the opportunity to change your teach, because obviously you're not going to try to do an event. Y'all aren't going to try to do dance to the same song that's going to clash with each other and compete for floor time. That's a given. We know that. Y'all are never going to write to the same track because it's just not going to happen. Because you're going to not want to split the floor. So you would obviously, if you went to an event and had that option, you would ask to change your dance.
Yes, of course. But with the sending in of dances early, really, you shouldn't have that issue either, because whoever is going through the schedule should kind of say, well, we can't have 2 dances to the same track. So then maybe call the choreographers, or let them speak it out or something like that, rather than, that is if you send your dances in advance. So I think that's a way to stop that from happening.
Yeah, so I'll just jump in for a second. So the same thing happens sometimes when myself and Darren go to Europe, and we're on the same event, but we haven't released what we're teaching. We've just got workshop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on a Saturday. Sunday we've got workshops 1, 2, 3, 4. Me and Darren have no idea what we're going to teach. They want a mixture of levels, beginner right through to advanced. So we will take like a spreadsheet of what we're about to do. We'll work together. This is just because me and Darren are on the event. So then we can change. And like Darren said, he looks at the event and what it's going to be. So on a smaller scale event like that, when there's just 2 choreographers or 1, then it works, and it will work that way. Now, the same thing what Darren just said, on a bigger event with 700 people, maybe like Vegas is far bigger, 1,400, 1,500 people, I think they talk about. People kind of like a plan, they like a schedule, they like a heads up. Some people actually like to, like JP said, get a heads up on the dance that's going to be released. Then you kind of go, oh man. But then exactly what Darren said, and this is probably going to sound bitchy coming from a choreographer who actually goes to work. It's the actual person who's putting this schedule together, who is looking at the step sheets that were asked 2 months in advance to go, oh, Darren sent me 5 songs, 5 dances, 5 step sheets. The song's on top. That's what it, or he didn't send the step sheet. He signed the song and the level of the dance. And then you should have that on a spreadsheet going, right, that clashes with this. That can't work. That's the same song. That's the same level. What? Come on. It's not going to work out. So then it's down to the person who's probably putting the schedule together to make it work, that there's no duplicates. Of course, things can slip. We're only human. But it would be down to the scheduling, unfortunately, to make it right.
Any
That sounded...
anything you want to chime in there with, JP?
No, they nailed it.
Because I know it's got to be hard on that one for you too. We getting all the music and trying to figure out what to play that's taught all weekend.
I mean, it does. It's a little difficult, but at the same time, like if there's 2 dances that are taught to the same song, if they're the same level, I'll split the floor. If one is a beginner, well, then that is supposed to be done over in the beginner ballroom, because I don't have time to play every workshop dance in the main ballroom. So the beginner and improver dances get played in the beginner and improver ballroom, and I play the intermediate and advanced stuff. So if it's the same level, I'll split the floor in the main ballroom. If it's the different levels, then it gets done in the appropriate room.
Agreed. Good answer. Coming in close to the end of the hour, any last thing any of y'all would like to say on the topic?
No, I would just like to say I think it's a really good debate to have. And if people can have this debate without shouting or getting angry at each other, then hopefully we can find a solution to this. But finding a solution is going to take people to communicate and talk together. And I think only by doing that sensibly can we kind of come up with a solution possibly.
Agree. That's why I kind of wanted to put this show together. And after hearing y'all's questions to Michael and the way y'all thought out your questions, I definitely thought that the people I asked to come on today were able to do it without getting in an argument, which is what I was hoping to avoid. And the chat, guys, I'm sorry I wasn't able to get to every question in the chat, but I'll do my best to read back. And I'm definitely up for having a second edition of this show with 3 other guests. What I was afraid of hearing. Do what? What'd you say?
I said that's what I was afraid of hearing.
Oh, well, I didn't say if it has to be with the same 3. If 3 other people, instructors, DJs, anybody would like to come on and talk about this topic, I will gladly do a round 2. So anybody out there watching that would like to join in and chime, and if any of these guys would lovely come back, I would never say no to any of the 3 of you coming on the show, because even in your straight up interviews and this, it's been the utmost professionalism, even with JP. And I will have to say, JP, everyone was very disappointed that you didn't have an entrance after yesterday.
I kept thinking about it, and I couldn't come up with something that would top Guillaume. So
that is true. So thank you guys so much. I know this was going to be a possible touchy topic and a touchy show, but I was really glad y'all agreed to do it, and I had a blast doing it. I hope everyone out there at home enjoyed. I will try to go, and we'll go through as many of the questions. And like I said, if any of you guys out there watching want to come on and we can continue this for another hour, feel free to message me. I'll gladly set up another show, and we can do that. So thank you guys for coming on. It was great. I know I'm a minute over 6, so guys, go tune in to Social Distancing. My buddy Chris Jocks is teaching the Classic Dance Levels by Will Craig. So please go support him. Levels. So there is no show tomorrow or no show on Monday. We're taking the weekend off for the holiday. You guys enjoy Memorial Day. I will release next week's lineup over the weekend, but I will tell you the very first one, Tuesday. I got him to come back. We did reschedule. Joey Warren will be my guest on the highway on Tuesday. So, everyone enjoy your weekend. It's been fun. See ya.